And we are back, Bryan Broaddus, man. I'm looking up at the TV, and they showed 3 or 4 games. All those teams look more serious than the Dallas Cowboys, man. It's just time is ticking, Bryan Broaddus. You know, we find a way to lose differently every week. You know,
sure do.
And you know, penalties really got you this week.
Yeah.
Nonsense plays really got you this week. It seemed like you didn't have a plan. I don't never want to accuse these professional coaches of not having plans.
Sure.
Will McClay got on to you about assuming that these professional coaches don't have plans, but Bryan Broaddus
sure did.
Sometimes it just looked like these guys aren't very prepared, Bryan. It just looks that way. It just looks like when we get to 4th and 1, we don't have a 4th and 1 play that we could just go to that we're really good at. It seems like we just kind of randomly pull out a play and we look weird. Your tackle struggle, we don't help him much, you know. And your quarterback, I mean, by the numbers, it looks solid, but it looked like a dink and dunk kind of day, right? Like, you know, you went, what, 17 for 21 or something like that? Man, Jared Goff will give you 200 yards on 17 and 21. We was just like 1-0 something, right? The news coming into this week about the running back situation gets weirder and weirder every single week. It just seems like we don't have a good we're not a very serious football team right now, Bryan Broaddus.
No, we're not. We're not. And that's why you're 3-5. I think everything you highlighted is all fair game. The whole thing with Zeke, there's a lot of layers to that. And the more that people dive in on it, the more difficult it's going to be. You know, there's the reports about Zeke missing, you know, meetings and being late and things like that. I think what Jane Slater reported is dead on accurate. And I think if they allow her a little more, she's going to find out more into this situation. And so, you know, that's something that going forward, in this day and age, you had to be very mindful of your players and your players' emotional states and where they're at. And there used to be a time when I was in the league, and I'm not trying to be back in the day. I'm just trying for a point of reference. You know, when I came in the league in 1992, it's like, you know, if something happened with a player, you just moved on. You know, and we've seen some teams in the past, if something's happened with a player, they just move on. And, you know, this one is a guy that was a very significant player for you one time in your history. And I think that's why right now there is some genuine concern for him. And I think I think when people really, really, really dig in on this one, they're going to find there's a lot more layers to this. And we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. So that didn't start the trip very good.
Sure.
That part of it. There were some areas where you were going to need to attack the Atlanta Falcons defensively. Sure. And you felt like going into the game that you and I, at least, were looking at possibilities of this team doesn't rush the passer all that well. They don't get sacks. What did you allow them to do?
Pressures and sacks immediately.
Pressures and sacks. Couldn't have that in this football game. And you did. You know, I got to give Rico Dowdle a lot of credit for the way he ran the football. He showed toughness. If you want to talk about a player that him, Overshone, those appeared like guys that were playing winning football for you today. Your quarterback struggles with his accuracy. Quarterback really, if the game plan was not to throw the ball down the field against these guys or trying to attack them a little bit more, that to me is not a very good game plan. You know, if Dak's averaging, you know, 3.5 yards and all of it is run after catch stuff, I mean, that to me is not a very good plan. We talked about how you go after Alford. I can't wait to get the metrics numbers maybe later tonight or tomorrow and talk about him as the nearest defender and how much he was wrong. I think you let their secondary off the hook in this game, you know, with some of the stuff that you did. Now, maybe you feel like you couldn't protect enough. That shouldn't have been a problem. Dak said he felt good about the game plan going in. Mike McCarthy, Brad Sham asked Mike McCarthy about that pregame. Everybody felt good about the game plan going in. That wasn't a winning game plan against that defense. That's not a winning game plan. And so, and you talk about the penalties, the pre-snap penalties, you got a guy that's basically new to being on the game day active roster with Dalvin Cook, but then you're trying to do something, that he's not probably used to, substitution patterns on and off. Maybe it's something that they didn't practice or he did practice and he didn't get, and they went to that. And now you got 12 men on the field. That's not playing winning football. That's not game management. That's not substitution management. There's just so many things. You have dropped balls, inaccurate passes, missed blocks, ridiculous plays on fourth down. There's so many things that go into this game each week, and your offense needed to be really good today and try and outscore Atlanta. And I felt like going in that you could have. Now, but you didn't. You didn't want to.
Now, Bryan,
not you didn't want to. You weren't capable of doing that, and that's a problem.
I find it odd, Bryan, because like we said earlier, we know that this team is not a team. The Falcons, they don't get a bunch of pressure and sacks, right?
They don't.
And I feel like we've seen offensive lines worse than ours. Block them.
Yeah.
They were able to deal with those guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then just off the rip, 70, 78, 60, they all take turns looking strange, Bryan Broaddus. Why can I feel like these guys didn't just roll out the bed one day and just forget how to play football. They didn't roll out the bed as a terrible football team, Bryan. Like why didn't we attack the DBs like me and you thought?
I didn't. I don't know why. I don't know why they felt like that throwing the ball underneath. Now, maybe they thought because of all the off coverage that was the best way to attack this team. But I kind of felt like if off coverage would have allowed you routes to develop and routes down the field, I didn't see that. And like you said, I don't know if they're continually worrying about this offensive line and protection. I don't know if the quarterback is that concerned, but it just seemed like to me, I've seen other offenses attack the Falcons, watching the Tampa game, and they're just, they're going after these guys. Sure. And they're putting a lot of pressure on them to make plays. And, I think you made this game very comfortable for these Falcon receivers. Once Lamb, once he got banged up, it turned into Turpin and Tolbert and those guys having to make plays. But man, I mean, this the start of the game, you just did not do anything to really get after this crew like you should have. And I don't know going in if that was the plan, but if throwing the ball for 3.5 yards or 5 yards or whatever, that's not a good plan. That's like the lowest numbers Dak's had in his career throwing the ball. And this is a secondary. This is a secondary because they struggle because they don't get enough pass rush. There are plays to be made out there, and you just let them make plays on you.
Now, Bryan, I'm gonna ask you again. I asked you last week.
Oh no.
I'm gonna ask you again, Bryan. Do you think the head coach is a bit tapped out here? Now, Bryan, we're presented with new information now, right? We're presented with some new. Now, Bryan, let's just say Deuce Vaughn. Let's say he was late for a meeting and he just got a warning about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he missed a couple more meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Deuce wouldn't be on this football team.
That's true.
Bryan
That's
Broaddus.
true.
He wouldn't be on the team.
That's
Let
true.
alone a running back that averages 3.1 yard or something like that. Look, Bryan, we all know what seniority is. We know the good players get better treatment. If Ezekiel Elliott was Saquon Barkley, you could probably miss a couple meetings. And Dez Bryant slid on a lot of stuff because he's Dez.
Right.
Bryan, let me ask you a question. I was talking to my DLLS partners. I did another stream prior to you. I know we do a lot of talking about Ben Johnson coming over here and saving us.
Sure. Yeah.
Man, if you Ben Johnson and you looking at this, man, and the head coach can't even play the running back he wants to play. The owner, general manager, is more in charge of the line. They say, "Oh well, look, I know he's been missing, and I know he's been late, but we're gonna do X, Y, Z." Man, if I was a coach, man, I wouldn't want to come up in here.
Yeah, this right now is not a very inviting job. It's the thing that would be the inviting job is what Sean Payton told me many, many years ago is they know your name in China.
Yeah.
If you're a head coach of this football team. But the problem is right now that you're looking at a situation where now the head coach does have say in the personnel, does have say who is on this roster in a way that, you know, Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, and I know from my own personal experience of working with the Packers, you know, that Ted Thompson, who was the general manager when Mike McCarthy was the head coach, you know, he said, Mike, let me handle the personnel. You just coach the team. And Teddy, so really Mike wasn't involved with, you know, he had involvement, but not to the level he would have with the Dallas Cowboys. That's one of the things that Will McClay deals with every day. The coaches, the scouts, and the Joneses, he deals with that. You know, he deals with that all the time.
Sure.
So the head coach, if you're a head coach that wants to be involved in personnel, there's an opportunity for you here. There is an opportunity for you here. But, you know, you also got to know that the general manager talks on the radio twice a week. The executive vice president of player personnel talks on the radio twice a week. And then in the post game, the owner general manager is going to have a post-game press conference. These are all things I don't think Mike McCarthy knew when he got here. Sure. Now he knows. Now, does this make this as an inviting job? Does this make this an inviting job? If you can believe that if you really are that strong in your belief that you can do something with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and maybe a rebuilt offensive line and some things on defense, it might be the job for you. But if you're not into all that stuff, this is a terrible job for you.
I know he wanted to attack the DBs, Brian, but Rico Dowdle went like 12 for 78, and he got some catches too.
He had better rushing average than Bijan Robinson did in this game.
For sure. Do you think it would have helped the Cowboys to try to run the ball a little bit more?
You know, the way it was playing out, sure. I gave Atlanta's run defense a little too much credit.
Sure.
I think that, you know, there's some things that they probably could have done. I bet you Dallas came into this game looking at the tape like you and I did. No pass rush, secondary playing off. Yeah. We got a quarterback, you know, which thing are you going to think you have a better chance of winning the game doing? Dak throwing the ball or Dallas running the ball?
Throwing the ball for sure.
Yeah. And so, but maybe this is one of those things where, you know, this game really, in my opinion, turned around on the decision of the fake punt. You know, you're down 4 in this, you know, just punt the ball and play defense. See if you know, there were a couple of times where you were able to get these guys off the field. I mean, Cousins was damn near perfect, you know, and maybe you had to take some chances. Maybe you had to steal a possession or two. But I just felt like at that point in time, man, I'm going to go back and watch that play and I'm going to get pissed off because it didn't even look like that Goodwin was, I mean, he got, you know, it didn't look like he got any separation. It didn't look like he got off the ball. You know, it just looked like, and, you know, they just threw it out there. They're lucky the damn thing went to pick six.
Brian, back. He ran downfield and he turned around, Brian. Yeah. That's what he did. Yeah. It wasn't even a creative punt. I don't
even know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that happened in that football game. And you asked me the questions about McCarthy and him checking out and stuff. I think that Mike is really, really frustrated. But I will say this. He only needs to be frustrated at himself because he talks about the penalties every week.
Sure. And we don't fix
the best they finished in the penalty game, the best ranking they've ever been is 23rd in penalties. in his 5 years of being here with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
He talks about penalties every week. And he's been the best they've ever been is 23rd in the league in penalties. Besides the other 4 years, it's beyond 23. Sometimes it's near, it's 28, 20, around there in the bottom. He talks about it every single week. We got to do something about these penalties. Mike, it's been this way since you've been here, sir.
Yeah.
5 years. 5 years of this has been near the bottom when it comes to penalties. Now, is that him? Is that his players? Is that him with the players and the players that he chooses? Do they choose to be undisciplined? There's just way too many of the pre-snap stuff, and then it's just part of what is happening with this football team right now. They're not a very good football team. Yeah. You can say what you want about the injuries and stuff, the misevaluations I feel like I've made, the offensive line, the depth, some of the defensive pieces, Mike Zimmer. There's things that I myself went into the season believing that we're going to be okay, and they're not. And you watch this, and the more you watch it, you're like, this is not a good football team. This just isn't a good football team. They don't do anything. Everything's a struggle on offense. And, when they absolutely positively, have to have something on defense, they can't get it done.
Even when we get to the red zone, Bryan Broaddus, you would think simple is better. It's been 3 weeks in a row where I would go on Twitter and I'd be like, hey, don't overcomplicate this thing. Just hand the ball to Hunter Lipke and just give it to him and let him run up a gap, and you'll get, we're on the 1 or something like that, and we immediately get like a penalty. I think it was like
they get a false start. I think it was Steele. I think Steele jumped, and they go back. They're back 6 yards now. Or Ferguson jumped. Someone jumped.
Somebody
jumped.
Yeah,
they go back. Yeah, they go back. Yeah.
And we move backwards, and now it turns into this nonsensical scramble. There was another point in the game where 3rd and 1, then we go for it. We're at 4th and 1. The box is totally stacked, and instead of just kind of running up a gap, we just run this jet sweep type thing to CeeDee Lamb. That's a terrible idea. It just doesn't seem like we have a great idea of what's going on, Bryan. I'm talking to the people and say, well, Voch, do you think it's because Brandon Cooks isn't playing or Micah Parsons or Tank? I think if all those guys were available for you, I still think you would lose these games in horrible fashion.
I do too. And and maybe they talk about the pass rush and how different it'd be. I'll give Lawson a little credit for able to get some pressures today and get the sacks he did. Yeah, I'll give him a little credit for doing that. And injuries, I just don't believe in excuses. I understand injuries are part of the game. Everybody's dealing with injuries throughout, and some teams have it worse. Your defense has it bad right now, but you just don't play well enough on defense. You just don't. You don't tackle well enough. It's a huge problem. And I feel responsible a little bit for Carson. Wake Forest tackler, physical. Maybe in another year it's a different story. But right now, this team misses way too many tackles. They got chances to make plays before the sticks. Get off the field on 3rd down. Have a tackle. Make a tackle. And then next thing you know, they're punting the ball back to you. No, you miss, and then you allow, to get a 1st down. You're right. This team is not serious with some of the stuff that they do. They don't block well enough. They allow teams, like I said, that haven't rushed the passer all year. We had Dave Archer on the colored guy for the Atlanta Falcons radio network, and he's like, yeah, it's just a real struggle to rush the passer. Real struggle. Just not getting anything done up there. Boy, I tell you what, it's love to see him be able to rush the passer. Well, get ready, Dave. You're playing the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to get to see some pass rush today. And so that's the issue. That, things that you need to be good and buttoned up on, you're not. You're not a disciplined football team. Everything is a struggle. Your game management, your coaching decisions, your play calling, both sides, not just on Mike McCarthy, but Mike Zimmer. Just trying to find things, and it just doesn't. It's just not working like it needs to, and that's why you're 3-5. You just it's just Voch. It's just not one thing. Quarterback ain't playing great. You got no running game. You can have a running game if you want to hand it to the guy enough.
Yeah.
But you don't have somebody on the outside that's helping Lamb. We thought Ferguson was going to be in that upper echelon of tight ends. He had some good plays today, had some run after catch, but overall, it's just not good enough as a team. And that's what you're dealing with right now.
Forrest dealing with a hamstring now, Bryan.
Yeah.
I don't know how severe the ham. I'm sure you're going to call 3 Illuminati people, and they're going to call 3 more people, and we'll have an answer by the end of the week. But boy, what a horrible time to lose for. And the next few games, I mean, if it's a hamstring, that's 3 to 4, likely 4. It's not looking like it's getting much better from here. So if you were 3-5, if you
3-5 right now, yeah.
If you 3-5 now, you staring down the barrel of 3-9 right now, because I don't expect Cooper Rush to be able to do it.
No, and this is where and if people will give me a little latitude, I know what Cooper Rush is. I'm going to play Trey Lance.
Of course.
I'm going to play Trey Lance because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what the Packers did with Willis.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out an offense. If you don't feel like you can really get things done, Cooper Rush played well. He gave you a chance today. Put the ball in some good spots, But I'm looking at the situation overall. If your offensive line is going to be suspect, Trey Lance running around gives you a chance. You know what I'm saying? If you're scrambling, moving, maybe you could tailor the offense. It's people probably goes, "Oh, damn it, Broaddus, it's a terrible idea." I know what Cooper Rush is. I don't see this season getting any better. I just don't. Jerry was selling everybody hopium after the game. Oh, wait till Tuesday. Got something up my sleeve. Jerry, unless you're making 11 trades, I don't see it. I don't see it. And we could talk about trading for Amari Cooper back, but okay, great. You trade for a wide receiver, and he comes in here opposite CeeDee Lamb, super. But you can't block. There's just so many. What are you going to trade for? What are you going to trade for that's going to make a difference in this football team right now? There's really, I just assume, hey, if you're looking at something big, just hold your pick. Hold your pick. Yeah. But I would, it drive the coaches nuts because they're all trying to fight for their jobs. But if Jerry Jones is talking to Mike McCarthy about, hey, you know what? Let's see Trey Lance this week. Let's see what Trey Lance could do in game situation. And I know out there everybody's going, "Oh, damn it, Bryan, you're giving up." Well, I just don't think it's going to get better, folks. Yep. I really, really don't. And I'm trying to do something differently on offense while Dak is out, to kind of give my offense a little bit of a spark with some mobility, maybe some read option stuff. Maybe make people have to prepare for you a little different. Maybe take that avenue.
Well, see, Bryan, I think that's where you're wrong. Me, you, and I think 95% of people would rather go with Trey. Like there's nothing but positive reasons to go with Trey. Like you need to know what Trey Lance is. You could
I'd like to. Yeah. If we're gonna be, if I'm staring at not getting any better, if I don't feel like that. Well, yeah, Cooper Rush can go beat Philadelphia, and Cooper Rush can go and Cooper Rush won 5 games. He could get. Man, you're struggling with Dak Prescott winning football games right now. What are you going to do with Cooper Rush? Yeah. Well, but to me, just if you're going to struggle in certain areas, and maybe Trey Lance turns over the ball, and maybe but I know there's certain elements to this game that he can maybe make this offense look a little different, and maybe help it with the running game, and maybe a little bit of some of the passing, because you don't have great, you don't have these great receivers. You have CeeDee Lamb is a great receiver, but everybody else is just kind of middle of the pack right now.
Well, see, Brian, we feel that way about Trey Lance, but do you think the Cowboys just roll with Rush
Uh-uh.
anyway?
No, they're going to play with Rush.
Okay, Rush.
I'm just me personally. They're going to continue to believe because they have coaches that are fighting for their jobs. They're going to continue to believe. But I've been in this situation before where you're a 5-11 football team, and the coaches see what's going on here, and they're going to like close the doors at night, and they're going to get on the phone, and they're going to start talking to their buddies around the league and say, "Hey, what jobs you think are coming open? And do you know so and so? Do you know so and so?" You know, it's a terrible business, and I apologize because I have made it personal before. I made it personal with Jason Garrett, you know, and that affects other lives. I get that. But Mike McCarthy he has no more time left on his contract. So everybody knows that going in. So this could be just a mutual parting of, you know, hey, we're parting with you. And that's what we're going to do. So that affects a lot of people. I get it. I'm not trying to be insensitive of that. I'm just saying this is the NFL and you signed up for that. And I understand what it's like to get let go. It happens. And you need to be ready for it. But if I'm the Cowboys front office, I am interested in seeing what Trey Lance can do for me. I gave up a 4th-round pick for him. I worked with him all training camp. I've worked with him up until this point. You know, I'd be interested to see what he can do, you know, against the Eagles potentially, against the Texans, and then, you know, the Giants after that, right?
Yeah. And I think it's damn near about that time anyway, Brian. I mean, we even saw when Gagnon went down for a couple of plays, Austin Richards kind of rolled out there.
Austin Richards at right tackle at some point in time in my life too.
Flournoy went out there and got to catch it too. I think if we're going down this direction, it's time to see what the young guys got, Brian.
If we're going to just struggle to win games with the people that we have right now, and unfortunately, if Dak is missing games, you know, that's you need to understand. And maybe they would do it after if you lose to Philadelphia and then you lose to the Texans. You know, if Dak is still missing, maybe you'd say, okay, we're going to give Trey Lance a shot here, or you give Trey Lance the month of December. I'm to the point where I think this team is who it is, and I don't see it getting any better.
You got any closing remarks before we get up out of here, Brian?
Yeah, it's really the injury part of this thing really sucks. Yeah. And they don't the depth. I felt like going into training camp that they would have some young players that would really step up. Young players aren't ready to play right now, but they're getting experience of doing that. It's just costing you games right now.
Sure.
But the staff has to help the players. They have to. And I guess my final thought is this Zeke thing is probably going to get more messy than it is going to get clean.
Sure.
Okay. There's going to be some things that, you know, I know Jane reported what she did, and Jane's absolutely right. Jane Slater from the NFL Network. So everything she's reporting is absolutely right. I just wonder if somebody else is going to dig in a little further and find some more things out.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in my chat box, my last 2 shows, and they thought that me making comments about that, it was just me beating a dead horse about Zeke. I don't think this is being a dead horse about Zeke. I just think like Zeke may be the MacGuffin of the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Zeke could be like the plot device that reveals how weird the infrastructure of this team is and how much control your head coach maybe has, or how toxic it is.
Yeah, there's clearly going to be some stuff that probably comes out, and I don't think all of it's going to be pretty. And I think there's a lot of sensitivity issues there with some things, because you have to be mindful of that of employees. So keep your ear to the ground. I'm sure we'll be talking about it here in the coming days.
If it's some good mess, Jane Slater gonna find it. I know that much, boy.
Jane Slater ain't. You know, there's a side of people over there that, you know, Jane Slater has a lot of respect, but she's also got a lot of people that know what's going on over there. Yeah. And I guarantee you, she's going to, if not Jane Slater, some other people are going to get some stuff out of this. I tell you.
Well, I'm gonna call and see what she say. All right. Hey, we love y'all to pieces. We appreciate.
We might need to have her on Tuesday night.
Can you pull that off?
I'll give it a go.
I love some good man, Brian. Yo, Brian, we got to find a way to make the people smile through all this turmoil.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, man.
Oh.
And ladies, guys, and gals, I'm sorry about this. I hate when I'm a negative guy, and I don't. I like to be fair about things, but this is not a good football team, and I'm not telling you that. You know that right now. It's just not a good football team.
Sure.
And they struggle doing basic things that you need to do to win games. And until they correct that, they're not going to be a very good football team. And I'm the first one to admit when I'm wrong. And there's a lot of areas of this football team that I believed in Oxnard were going to be okay. No, I misevaluated it just as much as the Cowboys have misevaluated how they are right now. They've probably misevaluated a lot of the same things I have.
We'll figure it all out, Brian. We'll figure it all out. And even, even if we got to incorporate maybe like a little draft information here or there, we'll.
So you're telling me I need to start watching players?
I'm starting to. Look, you ain't got to do nothing, but I'm going to start watching players. I don't know what you're going to do. I'm going to start watching players, Brian. It's just.
I might secretly start watching. What position you doing first?
I'm going to start at wide receiver and defensive tackle, sir.
Got it. All right. I will. I might take a peek or two. You never know.
I'll meet you halfway. Hey, we love y'all to pieces. Me and Bryan Broaddus are going to come to work regardless. We're going to try to get
We signed up for this. Full poll.
Hey, it is what it is, y'all. Hey, we're going to try to get that Jane Slater drop. Y'all be sure to tune in.
Yeah, Tuesday. I'm going to see if I get Jane for us. No promises, but I'm going to see if we can get that done.
And look, if we can't, y'all just got to be happy with me and Bryan. Just be happy. Y'all tap in with me on all my socials, VOCHLONBARD. Y'all be sure to tap in with Bryan Broaddus, BRYN Broaddus. He has some fantastic work for you also on social medias and in this comment section. All right? We love y'all to pieces. We'll catch y'all tomorrow after we break down the film and tell y'all what we saw. Till next time, Crown.